Hello, I am Stephanie Joy, the attorney at All Things Social Security and Joy Disability Law. Your video is about to start. I just wanted to remind you that if you click the join button below, you can learn more about the memberships offered at a very affordable price that can give you a little more direct attorney answers to your questions. Have a great day and enjoy the video. Hey all. Okay, let's talk a little bit about that message people are getting on their online account, like through their phone or what have you, when they have a claim. So they're in the claiming stage and they get an alert that says your claim has been sent back, something like this. Your claim has been sent back to the so-and-so field office to make sure you still meet the non-medical criteria. We've had a lot of hashing out over this since probably end of 2023, when it seems like the message is very seemingly that you prevailed, that you were found disabled medically, because now they have to check the non-medical criteria. And why would they be checking non-medical criteria for someone who's not disabled and can't have a claim any longer? So it's been really, really misleading and upsetting to a lot of people. And I'm really hoping the SSA, straightens it out soon. Anyway, one of my clients just got one today. I think it was today or yesterday, but she alerted me today. And she might not have read the message carefully, but then she screenshotted it for me. And it is, no, the attorneys don't get this, by the way. It's only the claimants that get this. We have to wait for paper at this juncture, which was initial. And I'm hoping we don't have to go to recon. That my client definitely should not have to, but we'll see. And everything in it sounds very favorable. And it's got a lot of detail because it does, I shouldn't say detail, but it even goes so far to say, make sure you tell us of any changes to this, that, or the other thing, because it could affect your benefits. So why are you talking about their benefits if they don't have any? In addition to saying, we're reviewing your non-medical, eligibility, stuff like that, since it's now done at that other office. So I don't know. I had to tell her, I'm like, we don't know if you won yet, because from what I'm hearing from all you guys, you get this kind of message and then you get a very disappointing denial letter in the mail. And I think it's really, really appalling. And I really hope they fix it soon because it's causing extra extra stress. Like, why even send that out? Just shush it, SSA. Get your stuff done, figure it out if they're awarded, then let them know one way or the other. None of this little BS in between. So we'll see. Now, if anybody wants to take a screenshot of whatever they get, redacted, of course, keep all of your personal stuff out, but just to show the whole substance, excluding anything personal. I don't even know if it has anything personal in there, but I don't even want to see your phone number. But if you wanted to share it to me, I'd be curious to, because now I have a copy of this one with the particular language in there. And I will it's not going to be conclusive, but if she gets awarded, okay, that came out with an award. If she gets denied, okay, that came out with a denial, really misleading. I'm really curious to know if there's a difference between the messaging that is definitely misleading for the denied people, but is it a different message than from the awarded people who get a message also? That's what I want to know. So if any of you have received, I get posts from you guys, comments on the YouTube channel a lot saying, I just got a denial, So if any of you are compelled to do that, you can email it to me. Again, just take out all the name, phone number, anything personal. And I would like to compare it to what I've seen now today. So, and we'll see where this is going. But anyway, fingers crossed for my client. Very, very deserving, very, very disabled. Yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully it will go well. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, we have a lot of videos on this mixed messaging that the SSA sends out to claimants when they have had a determination made by the medical office as to whether they're disabled or not. And it makes them think that they were found disabled, only to then get denied because they weren't found disabled. But that's the erroneous messaging, I'm going to call it. Okay. And yeah, it's kind of like a fluid thing right now because it seems like they're going to have to fix it at some point. I'm surprised that it's gone on this long. It's almost a year, but you know, City Hall, everything takes a long time. I'll talk to you guys later. Hey, so if the subject matter of the video you just listened to is of interest and you want more on it, stay tuned. Here's another one about the same topic, but a little bit different. Bye now. We've talked a little bit about what happens when you get that letter that your case is now heading back to the field office for a non-medical review. For a little more clarity, thanks to a viewer who asked for a little bit more about what are those non-medical things that they will be looking at. Well, it depends on what kind of program you're applying for. If it's Social Security disability, some examples can be, let's just double check that that person was insured for SSD at the time that the SSA, the date that they established that the disability started, EOD, established onset date. Got to make sure you're insured. Remember, if you stopped working, you will eventually become uninsured after a certain amount of time because you're not paying those premiums through your Social Security taxes, through your paycheck, or your estimated payments if you're self-employed and your Schedule C. That's one thing that they double check potentially. There may also be a check about any status that would make you ineligible for SSD. Are you in jail more than 30 days? Have you moved to a country where Social Security cannot be sent to? There's a few of them. Do you have outstanding federal debts that have to be offset from any benefit you might be receiving? Now, I'm not sure if those latter questions I just mentioned occur initially with the non-medical review. That's more of an award amount. So I'm not clear if that is going to be what's done initially, or will they do that? Is she still insured? And those kind of questions with SSD. And then once they find out, yes, valid, 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 okay, now how much does she get? Might be two different steps. So for sure, that might not be what is taking place before you get notified that you have passed your non-medical. Because once you pass the non-medical criteria, then they have to find out what your amount is going to be. They're going to look at that work history earnings as a whole calculation. There can be checking for that government pension to see if you have to be subject to a WEP, which would mean if your estimated calculation is actually incorrect because of not full information being available when it was provided you. Things of that nature. Federal debts. Do you owe taxes? Do you owe arrears in alimony or child support? All those things would come into play as to, and have to be done before you can get paid because they have to know how much you are due. Usually, I think people are always due or largely due the full amount that they have paid the taxes for, but occasionally you do have those offsets. Workers' comp could be another offset. That would be SSD. If you have applied for SSI, non-medical criteria has to do with other things. Remember, with SSI, you have to be disabled just like SSD, but you do not have to be insured. So they don't have to double check an insured status. Although they might, because if they find out you were insured, they can grab some of the money from SSD instead of it all coming from SSI. But the other part of SSI is that you must be poor enough. So after they found out you are medically disabled, they have to find out if you are financially eligible for SSI. Because remember, it's a needs-based program, which is another word for welfare. And it is strictly based on what they determine is a minimum level of need. And then you can get that minimal amount. And for any other dollar that might come in your door, it's going to be one that does not need to come from SSI. So that's always a constant balancing act to figure out the amount month by month. That's why there's often those overpayments, because by the time they learn of an amount that has to be offset, it's many months down the road. So SSI, the non-medical criteria, is how poor you are. Are you poor enough? SSD, the non-medical criteria, is largely about, is he or she still insured for SSD? on the date that they found her disabled. Doesn't have to be that you would still be today, because once you're found disabled, that clinches it. You don't have to worry about that window scrolling by. All right. They both will want to know, obviously, if you're a fugitive running from the law, you're not going to be eligible. You have to have a lot of the proof about being legally present in the country, I believe still is required. So if you are a US citizen, obviously that proof would be your birth certificate along with your ID. If you are naturalized, they're going to want to see your naturalization papers. If you're otherwise a legal resident, they're going to want to see that, because ostensibly, and I hope this plays out as it should, if you're not legally present, you are not eligible to receive monies from either program. Okay. All right. So non-medical versus medical. By and large, if you have already passed the medical, that's the only reason they're going into the non-medical. So that's a really, really big step that you accomplished. The biggest fight is always, as I see it, the medical battle. That's the one that takes a couple of years. The rest of the stuff is just double checking that you still meet those other criteria. You know, like in the middle of your case, if you're an SSI case and you won $1 million in the lottery and it's sitting in your bank, you're not going to be eligible for SSI. You might have retroactive eligibility, I suppose, like you're poor for those 6 months, but then not after. But, you know, the financial criteria is super, super important. That interview they're going to give you is called a PERC, P-E-R-C. I think it's P-E-R-C. And that's when everything that involves, including your living arrangements, so your bank accounts, your assets that are countable. It's really something that you should really be looking into before you even win, because you're going to have to come up with the responses to these things. And it could be that you find out you have an asset that you have to get rid of. And when I say get rid of it, I don't mean give it away. I mean, spend it down. Keep your receipts to show that you no longer have it and you have not replaced it with something else that could be sold to support yourself, so your neighbors aren't doing it for you. Okay. SSI is a good one to stay on top of that before you even prevail. It's also the one that if you don't prevail because they don't find you medically disabled, you can refile and refile and refile. SSD is not the same. Okay. Non-medical criteria. Hope that clarifies a little bit more. Bye-bye now.